President Biden will deliver a farewell address to the nation tonight from the Oval Office. The White House has not released many details about what the president will discuss in his remarks. They're scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern. But according to sources, Biden is expected to reflect on his decades of service to the country and will also include a message to Americans about the country's future. Joining us now is White House Senior Deputy Press Secretary Emily Simons. So we know the White House hasn't released many details, but you are the White House. So talk to us about what we should be expecting to hear from the president tonight.
So tonight, the president will be honoring a time-honored tradition, sitting behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, addressing millions of Americans, really putting us in the moment. Where are we as a country right now? What can we expect going forward? As you mentioned, he'll be drawing on his 50 years of public service, 4 in the White House, 8 as vice president, 36 as a senator, and really culminating in this moment of who we are today, who we are as Americans, and that we are stronger when we are united. We'll hear a lot about all of the accomplishments we've had, everything from lowering prescription drug costs, all of the work on our roads and bridges, especially the work we've done in the tech space, cybersecurity, and semiconductor chips. What this means for our place in the world, both national security and domestic security going forward.
Yeah, certainly a lot of work in that chip space as well. That's going to have a long tail. There's also the other piece of this, though, too, that there is some criticism from within the party about the way that Biden stayed in this race and about now Donald Trump coming in for a second term. Do you think that there's anything in this speech that grapples with either those criticisms or bucking them?
We are focused on everything that we have delivered and explaining that to the American people. Right now, there are 72,000 projects underway across the country on our roads and bridges and ports and waterways, airports. These are things that are going to make a real difference to everyday people. There's also a lot of work that's being done in a historic way, the biggest single drop in opioid deaths ever. Lowest border encounters, biggest crime drop in 50 years. This type of thing makes a really big difference to people in every corner of the country. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat. This has been a president that has spoken and fought for all Americans.
The other piece of this, too, when I think about Joe Biden in covering the 2020 race, is the whole frame was the battle for the soul of a nation. Democracy, small d, was so central to that. Is that going to be something that we hear him talk about, especially as he talks about the future?
This is a president who has restored honor, decency, character to the White House. You see it in everything he does, and I think you will hear directly from him about the importance of those attributes, what it does for us not just at home vis-a-vis Americans, but also what it really can do for us on the world stage. The strengthening of our alliances, so much of it is because the president has these long-standing relationships everywhere between the Indo-Pacific, Ukraine, Europe, and the Middle East. And that work is ongoing now. But when you have someone with that heart, that character in the Oval, it makes a big difference.
I think the other thing I'm thinking about, too, is the fact that Biden will be having the Trumps over for the more traditional pre-inauguration meetings. Of course, he will be going to the inauguration. All of these things not afforded to him by the man who is now being re-inaugurated after him. How is he thinking about what's happening on Monday, the transition of power, and the role that he's playing in sort of re-traditionalizing something that felt bent severely, if not almost broken, back in 2021.
So the edict that we have had directly from the president as his staff is to ensure we have a peaceful, orderly transition of power. That is what the American people deserve, and that is exactly what we are doing. We are working closely with our counterparts. We are exchanging information as appropriate, and we will ensure that Monday, inauguration is a peaceful transfer of power and follows by the book all the things that are typically done. The inaugural tea, the joint motorcade, folding in together, and ultimately that passing to a new administration as is written in the Constitution.
And then after Monday, he is a private citizen, something that he has not been since 30 years ago, when he was elected to the Senate. What's next for him? Is he going to be active?
He is going to be active. He has told us we are going to hear from him.
I'm sure you're loving that.
We are, he's a family man. I think throughout this presidency, he spent a lot of time with his family. He's going to continue doing that. He has a new great-grandchild. But I think he is extremely committed. He's a lifelong public servant. And he is going to continue doing what he can on behalf of this nation, speaking to important events, and we'll be hearing from him.
Yeah, 40 years. You don't just quit cold turkey overnight. Emily Simons, White House Senior Deputy Press Secretary, thank you for joining us.